Beauty Mama Yulia here, and today we've got a really exciting guest on our Awesome Healthy Show. I would like to welcome Dr. Robert Lockhart. I'd like to ask you to introduce yourself and also talk about how you switched to fruitarian lifestyle and how long ago did that happen?
Okay, it's been I'm 71 in a couple of months. It's been a fairly long evolvement ever since I was brought up in New Zealand on a dairy farm and living on fairly natural foods, but all the wrong type of natural foods. They included too much meat and grains, and as a consequence, I was all bulked up, sure. And, by the time I was 22, I started to get arthritis, and I started to, even though I was leading a very active lifestyle, I was playing sport, playing rugby, and being a surf lifesaver. By this time I'd moved to Australia, and what happened was my knee joints became so painful I had to give up my sporting activities. I could barely walk, just through, obviously, well, what I can see now was the deposition of toxins in the joints, but what the orthopedic surgeons and all the people I consulted with at that time said was an arthritic condition, and they couldn't offer much. Maybe an operation might help, 50% chance. So luckily at the time I was exposed to some teachings by a Paul Bragg. He came to Australia and gave a series of lectures, and he was a health pioneer from California. His daughter is still working, and he's now passed on. He passed on at 97. Apparently he was killed surfing at 97, body surfing in Florida, and he broke his neck coming down a wave. So that's not too bad for a 97-year-old. And anyway, Paul Bragg gave a series of lectures, and overnight I changed from being a meat-eating, toxic head, drinking alcohol and doing everything to abuse my body, into becoming a vegetarian, but I was still eating some cooked food. And even though the arthritis improved dramatically when I gave up meat and bread, it still wasn't 100% because I was still eating some cooked food, because my wife used to like preparing souffles and some other dishes like that. Yeah, so it wasn't until I became 100% raw that I noticed that all the symptoms and had ameliorated and gone. And so after becoming 100% raw, I've been that way now for 29 years. I've been 100% raw, primarily fruitarian, some green leaf vegetables, coconut. Not many nuts at all. I don't eat many nuts. So yeah, and I still maintain my weight. I'm about 5'10", and I weigh about around about 60 kilos or 58. And I still walk on my hands the length of a football field. I did this morning on my hands, and then I like to get to challenge myself.
That's right, and we know you personally. We spent time with you in Australia, we spent time with you in various parts of the world, actually in America, and you're such an amazing example of a 70-year-old fruitarian, which is like, where else can you find a 70-year-old fruitarian in this world who's been fruitarian for nearly 30 years and can walk on his hands? Is amazing. So, Robert, you've been a fruitarian for a long time, and I know a lot of people get discouraged on their journey. They face challenges and they feel like giving up. So did you feel like giving up at any stage of your journey, and how did you handle this challenge?
Yes, the only time I sort of felt like giving up was when I was still eating some cooked, before I'd become 100% raw. And then once I'd made the commitment to become 100% raw, I just felt so much better, more vibrant, more alive. There was no way I was going to go back. So, in answer to your question, it was probably when, it was a long time ago, when I was still eating some cooked maybe once or twice a week, not very much. So the challenge then was to upgrade my diet from the cooked type of inclusion of, say, some even cooked veggies and, just being social sometimes. It makes such a difference, especially if you're recovering from any health challenge. You've got to really make the commitment to go 100%. And if I can't do anything else but stress that fact, I've just spent a very trying weekend because my partner Rihanna lost her mother last weekend with a cancerous condition which was very, very aggressive, and she had led a normal type of lifestyle which included cigarettes, some alcohol, lots of meat, rice, that sort of thing. The general fare of the average person, in the Philippines. So honestly, she was only 56 years old, and if that's not really a wake-up call to her relatives and her immediate family of the necessity of really examining their lifestyle and thinking, no, I don't want this to happen to me at such a young age, what can I do about it? So the challenge is, I think, convincing people, especially those that you love, convincing them that if they continue on the path that they're on, they'll suffer a similar sort of a fate. And it's just the reality of it. It's just the consequences. To your question, specifically, was there any particular time that you felt like giving up? Well, there were, but I didn't recognize that at the time as being a particularly related to just my diet. I was relating to the whole lifestyle. So if I'd given up the diet, I'd have to give up the whole lifestyle. And it's more than a diet, being on a fruitarian path. It's a whole lifestyle. So I prefer not to say a fruitarian diet or whatever. It's a whole lifestyle. And for me to give up that type of lifestyle, it would, be like doing a personality transformation into someone entirely different. So it's something that you cannot do, pretty well.
I'm just wondering whether there were any mistakes that you made on your journey, and what were they?
Yeah, I think, yes, there were mistakes, especially when I was becoming raw and changing my lifestyle and diet. We didn't have the internet, and you didn't have the huge exchange of information you can get now. And so I was eating fairly raw, but I was eating too high fat and it's the same old thing, too many nuts, I thought, I needed the nuts in my diet, I needed almonds, I needed Brazil nuts, and needed, all these. But most of the nuts are very indigestible and hard to digest anyway. And I found my health was quite suffering at that stage. In fact, I had a friend that said, "Man, you look so terrible. Have you got cancer? We're worried about you, because I just look so bad." Yeah, once I gradually started to just give up the nuts and just forget about them, I felt so much better, honestly. I still ate coconut though. The mistakes I'd made were other ones too, like being out in the sun too much. 27 years I had a property And I was originally born in Scotland. I've got fairly fair skin, and my skin's been damaged. But even though I've damaged it through 27 years of tractor driving, being out in the sun and working in the hot Australian sun, Queensland has the highest incidence of skin cancer in the world. And yet, I don't have skin cancer, but it's been damaged. And the reason I don't have skin cancer is because I don't eat meat and toxins that are the underlying cause of skin cancer. So, yeah, that's another mistake. Watch the amount of sun that you get. Be mindful of getting the right amount, depending on the latitude that you live in. So if you're living in a low latitude like I am, not so far from the equator, you've got to be mindful of the sun and only utilize it between maybe at 10 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The mistake would include those three main ones: too high fat, nuts and that sort of thing in the diet initially, and my health was suffering as a consequence of that. Second, the use of sun, and not to overdo it, but to get enough vitamin D. Third, try and choose your relationship that is going to be on the same path as you are, because otherwise it'll lead to friction. There are people that the female is wanting to go 100% raw, and the husband still wants to eat meat. And wow, how do they do it? And some of them do it, it's pretty amazing the compromises that are made. But if you don't want to add stress and to your life in that manner, choose a relationship if you can where you're both on the same path. Okay? So those three things I made mistakes with, and I've since rectified them, and life's a lot better. Okay?
Thank you. Yeah, let's move on to the next one. And what advice can you give to people who want to implement a successful fruitarian lifestyle and maintain it also?
Yes. The advice that I'd give is examine your beliefs and think of why you are thinking of changing to a fruitarian or a raw vegan path. Is it for health reasons, or is it because you're so concerned about the welfare of animals and you can't bear the thought of them suffering? I wasn't particularly, quite frankly, I didn't, that didn't enter my mind too much when I first became vegan. There was more of the health factor which pushed me into it. But if you can examine those factors, understand why you were wanting to become, upgrade your lifestyle to a vegan and fruitarian lifestyle. Once you understand that, then your goals should be along those lines.
That's super. I'd like to thank you, Robert. There's a lot of insightful information there, and thank you for inspiring people. Okay, so thank you very much for this wonderful interview, Robert, and we really wish you all the best, and we hope to see you soon and share a journey together. Or two.
That'd be nice. Yes. Yes.
All the best, and you guys post your comments below, remember. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.